Sometimes the things that they want to do are not anything that she wants to do. But sometimes when she does these things with other people, they expose her to things that she might not have done, to experiences that she might not have had. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So the invitation for this week is to set your intentions. And to set your intentions anew every day. Remember, you can aim, you can look at your attitude, you can look at your assumptions, and you can track your attention. Remember that you can start anew at any moment. And remember that we are in a whole new world, moment by moment. A whole new world. So I have an affirmation. So it's fairly simple. I start each day with a grand rising.
With a grand rising.
I start each day with a grand rising.
With a grand rising.
And finally, I start each day with a grand rising.
With a grand rising.
And so it is. So I have a song to share. I'm trying to close out. Peter's Gate. There you
Joy.
a standard backdrop to what's been going on. When I was little, there were cowboy and Indian movies. And the cowboys were clearly depicted as the good guys. And the Indians were clearly depicted as the bad guys. There was no neutrality in the presentation. With the pandemic, there started to be a broader identification about who the real heroes and villains were. And there's been a huge reaction to that. We are living in a time where people are, the person who had been the president of Harvard University was ousted, ostensibly because she plagiarized, ostensibly because she did other stuff. But when you dig down into it, the man who was really persecuting and prosecuting this whole idea, his wife had done far worse in her work. And that wasn't what was making the news. So in this time of a grand rising, we may be able to choose to look at the practices, and we may be able to stand by the growth that's being made. There's all kinds of people who are like, I don't want to do any of that equity work. I don't want to do any of that diversity work. It's bad. No, what's bad is that you're unwilling to let go of your white privilege. And you're unwilling to open up to the idea that you can have any responsibility. I'm not racist. I have a black friend. If I have a black friend, I can't be racist. There was a program, Avenue Q, where one of the songs is, everybody's a little bit racist. Part of the process of equity and diversity is recognizing, owning up to, seeing the biases that are going on, that go on for me as a white person. Now, I could pass. And I spent a whole lot of the beginning of my life trying to pass. I mean, I remember when I was called a faggot in grade school. And I remember how I just felt completely like zapped. Because I knew at some core of myself, even though I hadn't yet seen a boy that I really liked, that I really didn't have a sparkle of romance yet, when I was called a faggot, there was something about it that just got me, that identified me. And in the reading that Michael shared, the video, I didn't have someone saying, stand up in pride for what you're identifying about yourself. Stand up in pride. So today, what I'm going to be exploring is a little bit the notion of intentions, because we can embrace our intentions. And then after the service, we're going to explore and name some of our individual intentions that we may want to set for the year. My talk today is actually saying we can engage in intentional work every morning. Setting intentions doesn't have to be a one and done kind of thing. The big problem with resolutions, how many people have made resolutions? I resolved that this year that I'm going to eat more healthy. I resolved that this year I'm going to exercise more. I resolved that this year I'm going to be in healthier relationships. I resolved that this year, and you know how quickly, for most people, those resolutions fade out of the picture. They're usually gone by about mid-January. So if you start picking them up January 1st and they're gone by mid-January, clearly the notion of resolutions is not something that's powerfully successful. And part of it is that it's just saying something. It isn't about doing anything. The intention is about setting. It's like planting a seed. In the science of mind, we describe the whole idea of the divine as seed, soil, plant. There is the mind, the seed. There is the soul, or the soul, which is the soil, and then there's the plant, which is the body. The plant coming out of the seed that was planted in the soul, planted in the automatic action of the law. When you plant a seed, how much work do you have to actually do? Give it a little water, but you don't come back to it, dig it up and say, how you doing? How you doing? If you ever try that, or like if you try to root something and you pull it out of the, you're rooting something, you pull it out of the water, pull it out of the water, pull it out of the water, you don't maintain the process. So I'd like us to think of intention as that seed. That seed that is, in and of itself, it's complete. It has everything that it needs. So our intention has everything that it needs. The idea with an intention is that it pulls the finished outcome towards itself. Jeffrey has talked about it, how in fact, as human beings, we live in sequential time, but sequential time is just a function of the way that we understand time. In point of fact, there's really no such thing as time. The whole notion of creation, we like to think of it as a moment, and then everything unfolds from it. But in fact, creation is ongoing. Creation never started and never stopped. Creation is always in process. So we're going to explore a little bit about what intention setting in our daily lives means. Now, in The Science of Mind, one of the things that Ernest Holmes wrote was, we should learn to control our thought processes and bring them into line with reality. Thought should tend more and more towards the affirmative attitude of the mind that is positive, stable, and above all else, towards a real unity with spirit that is already perfect, whole, and complete. Now, how many of us actually think that way? It's a great goal. And sometimes the important things about an intention is to be able to be looking towards it. Another way that I think about intention is not only the seed, but I also tend to think about intention as the what. What is it that is going to be manifesting through me? What is it that's going to capture me and inspire me and uplift me? The only successful intention is something that's going to make us rise up. What gets us up in the morning? Are you really hungry? Well, then maybe you're looking forward to something delicious. Do you get up in order to create more, to bring more into the world? Stephanie, who has her Lily and Sassy, Stephanie, who has Lily and Sassy, has this vision of sustainable clothing for children. Something that the kids are really excited to raise their arms up and have somebody put it on them, or, even pushing further, that they're like, someday I'm going to be able to do this all myself. And the parents are excited to be putting those clothes on top of them. Victor is an author who's already published, and he has visions for more things that need to come through him. There's more that he wants to bring into the world. And some of it is through his words on page. Some of it is through images that he's learning to create. What is it that excites each of us? One of the things about me and my work is that I'm not really hooked up on what day of the week it is. I'm not somebody who wakes up Monday morning and says, oh my God, I can hardly wait until Saturday. You know, people will come and say, you know, we've got 3 hours until the break. And I'm kind of like, I've still got 3 hours to be able to do something. Michael knows, I mean, the work time may come to an end, but I'm still pursuing stuff. I'll be contacting parents on Saturdays and Sundays, night times. Partly because I'm excited about it. Partly because one of the things that I get to do is I get to be an instrument, a way through which children are able to experience school in a different way. School may have been hard or challenging or miserable. My hope, my dream, my vision is that I'm in some small way a presence in that system that has felt so uncomfortable, that's trying to be present to them, that's trying to listen to them, that's trying to have them be celebrated. Whenever I meet with kids, I say, you know, we're going to be working together and you're going to be teaching me where things are just right for you. Not too easy because too easy is boring. Not too hard because too hard is overwhelming, but just right. What's just right for you? If you've ever heard the story of Goldilocks and the 3 bears, Goldilocks tries everything. She tries Papa Bear stuff, she tries Mama Bear stuff, and usually it's Baby Bear stuff that's just right. I said my goal is often like getting Goldilocks to find Baby Bear's stuff. Because Baby Bear stuff is the stuff that's just right. I get excited about that. So I'd like us to look at 3 points around how to be deliberate in our thoughts and 3 points to be deliberate in our intentions. The first is the power of intentions. What if with each grand rising, we can set new intentions for that day? Maybe the intention is as simple as when people encounter me, they're better after that experience than before that experience. That's something that I try to hold on to. Now, sometimes I don't make it. Sometimes I can get caught up in the process of can I kvetch and can I complain and can I beat out the kvetching and complaining that others have. Has anybody ever had that? You hear a story of misery, and it's like, oh, I can one up that. Your story of misery, mine is so much better. I can outperform you in terms of how miserable things are. The other side of that complaining and that kvetching is that deepening and the exploration. I ran into one of my coworkers, and she asked me how my holiday was, and I said there were some points in my holiday which were challenging. I realized that one of the things that happens at Christmas time, Christmas is the day that I received a kidney and pancreas transplant from another person. And it was the greatest gift that was possible in the universe. I had been physically miserable for months. So much so that I really thought about ending my life. And here, out of the blue, on Christmas Day, I get a phone call telling me that I have a no mismatch match. Christmas Day. And And yet, one of the things that I'm always conscious of is that for me to get that match, there was a person who had to have brain death in order to become available. So there's a bittersweet quality that I experience every Christmas, that I received the greatest gift that someone could give. Stephanie sacrificed one of her kidneys for her mom. And I know that it wasn't an easy process. The process for the person that's a donor of an organ, and Phyllis gave organs to her son. The process for the donor, it's far tougher than it is for the receiver. Because the donor, they have to cut in a certain way, and they have to dig out the organ. For the person that receives it, they just plop it in. It's a very simple process. The other element was that when the organ was coming to me, where I was going, my mom was on the same plane with the organ. She got on the plane, and my mom was somebody who would talk with anybody, and she saw somebody carrying a cooler, and my mom's like, "What's that?" And the person's like, "Oh, it's organs." "What organs are they?" My mom's not gonna stop with its organs. Most people will be like, "Oh, don't want to hear any more about that." "Oh, what kind of organs are they?" "Well, it's a kidney and a pancreas for someone." "Oh, a kidney and a pancreas, and where are you going?" "Going to the Mayo Clinic." "Huh, that's really interesting, because my son is getting a kidney and pancreas organ at the Mayo Clinic." She was on the plane with the organs that were coming to me. And my mom was willing to drop everything, just like Stephanie was willing to drop everything, just like Phyllis was willing to drop everything. The power of intention is that being bigger than what you were before. While Stephanie has one less kidney, and Phyllis, was it a kidney that you donated? So Phyllis and kidney both have less in their body, but they have so much more because of their generosity. They have so much more because of what they gave. Their intention to lift up, to rise up, to be that support made them bigger than they were ever before. Victor's intention to tell a story enables other kids to not have to go through the lonely experience that Victor went through. When I was little, there were no kids' books about being queer. I couldn't look it up. I couldn't find it. I just knew when the word faggot came around that I was pinned down. But there are books that do this. So in terms of our daily intentions, perhaps we want to journal. Perhaps we want to use a planner or a tracker. Maybe we want to start our day with a gratitude journal, as many of us did when we took that course. Maybe we want to track what it is that we're grateful for. Just consider for a moment, what's the difference between saying good morning and a grand rising? Just consider the feeling associated with grand rising. A grand rising to you. People would probably look at you twice. What? And that's okay. Like Michael's reading, when you use those different greetings, it doesn't have to be about being different, but it can be about setting an intention. It can be about unsettling the way people perceive things and embracing a new way. Rumi had written, "Where am I going on this glorious journey? To your house, of course." So each day, where am I going on this glorious journey? To your house, of course. To the house that's been prepared for me, to the day that's been prepared for me by that which is behind all of creation. Where am I going on this glorious journey? To your house. Of course. Now, there's a person, Carolyn Webb, and she wrote a book called How to Have a Good Day, and she proposed these steps for coming up with our daily intentions. Step 1, aim. What matters most to me today? And when I know what matters most to me, how does that help me set my priorities? So aim. Aim for what matters most. Step 2, attitude. And you'll notice that these are all A's. Attitude. What concerns are dominating my thoughts and my moods? Do they help me with my priorities, or do they block me? If they block me, can I choose to set them aside? Or am I going to begrudge the world and hold on to that attitude? Attitude. What will I choose? 3, assumptions. What negative expectations am I carrying? Am I imagining the best of this meeting, the best of this situation, or am I imagining the worst? I was raised to expect the worst. That way I can prepare. But the problem with expecting the worst is that I kind of can set the worst into motion. What are our assumptions? And finally, attention. Where do I most want to direct my attention? So what might I notice and look for? If I can be expecting the best, can I be attending to everything that is about my best? If I'm expecting the possible, can I look to see the possible? So there's aim. There's attitude, there's assumptions, and there's attention. And again, this comes from Caroline Webb.
I'll send them out.
Michael's saying he will send them out. Second consideration is that we can start anew. We know that with the new year, it's really easy to be aware of starting anew. We have to write the year in a new way. We can't keep writing 2023. We have to write 2024. It's a new thing. But we forget that every day can be a new day. Every waking time, we're at choice. Do we look at our responsibilities, feeling weighted down and burdened? Or do we look at our responsibilities kind of like a little kid? You know, like they're so eager to get older. You know, I'm 5, but I'm going to be 6. I'm 6, but I'm going to be 7. However, you get to kind of middle age and kind of like, oh, you know, I'm 20, I'm going to be 21. I'm going to be able to drink legally. I'm going to be able to move out of my parents' house and do my own thing. And then we move out of the house and we do our own thing and we're like, what was I thinking? There's a song by Christine Lavin. What was I thinking? What was I blind when I bought this outfit? I must have been out of my mind. When we set this goal, maybe it's not everything that we imagined. So then reimagine it. We have a new day. We have a chance for a new imagination. Has anybody taken your imagination and squeezed it out of you? Has anybody ever put a tax on you saying you can't have that imagination? Stephanie isn't here today, but one of the things about Stephanie when she is here is her outfits are always phenomenal. Phyllis is working on making sure that she's like Emily in Paris, that she can have as many different patterns together that go together. She's deliberate. We can start anew at any time. So Michael Singer wrote, "A spiritual journey is one of constant transformation. In order to grow, you must give up the struggle to remain the same and learn to embrace change at all times." I'll say that again. The spiritual journey is one of constant transformation. In order to grow, you must give up the struggle to remain the same and learn to embrace change at all times. The Centers for Spiritual Living is looking at a grand rising as a way to change, because it can be a fairly insular organization. It can be it has been fairly individually minded. Change your thinking, change your life. With it being changing my thinking, changing my individual thinking so that I change my individual life. In more recent years, it's been about the global heart vision, making a world that works for everybody. But to have a world that works for everybody isn't just one person working, it's everybody working. It's everybody contributing. Like I talked about at the beginning, we have biases. We have ways that we have acted and seen things, and when these things are reproduced, are sent back out as if they are the all and end all, do we have the courage to say, wait a second, that doesn't make any sense anymore? When we have people talking about how terrible equity and diversity is, do we have the courage to say, terrible for who? Equity and diversity may be terrible for old white men who are really good at rallying everybody else to act as their minions. You know, if you remember in the world wars, it wasn't the generals who went out to fight. They sent out others. And they decided who was most expendable. And they made the decision about expendability. So the first thing today was about intentions. The second thing is about starting anew. The third thing is about the fact that we live in a whole new world. The global pandemic has forever changed our way of life. This wasn't as much a deal for my mother when she was growing up as it was for her mother. My grandmother became a nurse during the 1920 pandemic. She was a nurse and her family was horrified. You are going to go to that places where all those sick people are? What is wrong with you? They weren't like supportive. They weren't like encouraging. They were like, don't do it. Her name was Iva. A lot of people fondly called her Ivy. She didn't really like Iva or Ivy. She wasn't gung-ho about any of it. But she was gung-ho about being a nurse, and she was very proud of the work that she did as a nurse. She didn't pick the easiest time during the pandemic. And this became, I think many of us got to see just the demands that were placed on healthcare providers with the 2020 pandemic. the person that wrote the outline for today said, oh, but it's all done now. And I'm like, it's really not all done now. I mean, COVID is still evolving. We've got RSV. We've got the flu. We have people who have become tired of wearing masks and tired of it. I mean, she said, we can just get back to normal. And I'm like, I'm not going to talk about that because I don't agree with it. We actually have fewer people being vaccinated now than we did in 2015. Fewer people are getting vaccinated for the flu, are getting vaccinated for RSV. Even though there are vaccines for COVID, there's only like 19% of the population that's bothered to do it. And what's happening? There are increased instances of it. We live in a whole new world, but sometimes we have to embody and practice things from the old world if it's to work successfully. As we begin each day with a grand rising, we have the power to bring fresh perspectives. There are two quotes that I wanted to bring to this part. To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. William Blake wrote that. Every moment is an opportunity. Can we be as excited as a puppy looking at the world? You know, our dog sees the same people walking by the house and it's like a whole new person every time. I can come home and she can be all so excited she's going to wet herself. Now, I'm not saying to be so excited we wet ourselves, but can we be so excited that we are thrilled with the world that's before us? The other proverb comes from Africa. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. We have a choice with our intentions, with our new day, to embrace others, to bring others along. Don't expect that bringing others along is going to make it easier. You know that. If you want to do something easy, just go off by yourself. Stephanie has definitely just done this with trips with people. Well, welcome everyone to Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living. We are a community of people dedicated to using spiritual and practical principles to create lives we want to live. And Northern Lights Center for Spiritual Living offers both practical and spiritual tools to make positive changes where
in our lives.
And our promise here is to reveal, inspire, uplift, celebrate, and magnify your greatness. We acknowledge our presence here on the traditional and unceded lands of the First People of Seattle, the Duwamish and Coastal Salish peoples. These people are still here, and we join with them in how they continue to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage. We seek to resist the erasure of Indigenous histories as we work towards honoring and inviting the truth. In a similar fashion, we acknowledge that much of what we know in this country today, culture, economic growth and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants, who suffered the horrors of transatlantic trafficking, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We also name the Asian and Chicano people who toiled with little recognition. We are indebted to all their labor and their sacrifices. And we acknowledge the tremors of violence throughout generations and the resulting impacts that can still be felt and witnessed today. And this comes adapted from T.J. Stewart. Please join me for our opening song, In This Very Room by Ron and Carol Harris. You're welcome to sing along if you know it, or be sung to.
Kelly loves hedgehogs. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough peace and quite enough power to walk through our every fear. For Spirit, sweet Spirit, is in this very room. In this very room.
Good morning and welcome to 2024. It's very hard for me to believe that, but I know it's true because it says so. And this is the time that we set aside each Sunday for a brief meditation, a brief time to center ourselves and to relax and to leave everything behind, to allow your body, your mind, and all of you to just relax as best you can wherever you are, whether you're sitting, standing, lying, whatever. And so we're going to take a few nice, deep, cleansing breaths. And each breath that we take in goes deep within. And each breath feeds each and every cell, each and every organ of our body. So let us purposely take a nice, deep breath in and hold it. In, hold it, and release. One more breath in. And release. And one more breath in. And release. And as we have entered into this new year, this new beginning in our life, where each day is a new beginning. Each morning you wake up, it's a brand new beginning. We have a beginning after beginning after beginning. And so as we enter into this new year, allowing ourselves to release all the garbage and stuff that is no longer serves us, that we no longer need in our lives. Like the commercial on television, he has all this crown molding that he will never use. So just think about those things that you will no longer use. So you make space for what you can welcome into your life this new year. Welcome each morning with joy and gladness. I know sometimes that's a little challenging and difficult, but if you practice it, you can get used to doing it, waking up and being grateful that I wake up. And so for a few moments, just ponder the things that you need to, or maybe want to, discard. And open up to the things that you want to bring into your life. You may not know exactly what it is, but it could be something like joy, happiness, more abundance. You may not know how it's going to show up, but you're welcoming that in. And open up to not how it looks, but that it will be present in your life. So let's just allow the old stuff to go and the new stuff to come. Now I just invite us to say this mantra, this short mantra. We'll say it 3 times. And I release the old and I welcome the new. I release the old and welcome the new. I release the old and welcome the new. And just remember this week that you can do that when you see stuff around your house, your office, your car. You can look at it and say, is that worth keeping? Or is it worth releasing? To make room for new. And so with that, I invite each and every one back to your space. You're going to toes and fingers if you need to. Open your eyes. And so it is. Now, I guess, do the The reading this morning is a video I saw yesterday, and I felt that being the beginning of a new year, and that we're having our intentions workshop today, and what Reverend Vaughan is speaking about today, I thought this video fit very well, and it's about you, each of us. So here it is.
The truth is, you will never win in life by being someone you are not. You cannot, ever, live the life of your dreams by settling for someone else's idea of what you should be doing with your life. You will never, ever be happy if you change who you are to fit in with others. Until you accept and embrace who you are destined to live a life at only a mere fraction of your potential. It is simply impossible to be genuinely happy when you are not genuinely yourself. You must be yourself if you want to experience your true purpose in life. If you're different, be different. Be different and do it with pride. If someone doesn't like it, if many people don't like it, who cares? Those aren't the people for you. There is better. The right people will show up when the real you comes out. There will always be someone prettier. There will always be someone smarter, stronger, richer, younger. But there will never be another you. Kurt Cobain once said, "I'd rather be hated for who I am than loved for who I am not." The truth is, you will never be hated by the right people for being real. Being real, being yourself, is the greatest filter you could ever use. It instantly filters out all the people that don't belong with you. And at the same time, it reveals those who do. Bob Marley once said, "The only problem is people are being hated when they are real and loved when they are fake." It's true. But what is missed here is one very important fact. The people that are hating people being real are fake people. And the people that are loving fake people are the same fake people. Real recognizes real. Real recognizes fake. So who do you want to attract? Fake people or real people? Be yourself. And I promise you, eventually you will attract the right people. Be yourself. No matter what has happened to you, no matter who has hurt you, no matter what you believe, be yourself and be kind to others. If you do that, life will turn out far greater than you ever thought possible. If you don't, life will be painful. Because living a life with a mask on, you can't see. Living a life trying to fit in, you will never. Living a life trying to be someone else so other people will like you, you might fit in on the outside. But inside, you'll never be complete. You'll never be happy. Repeat to yourself every day, "I am different. That is why I win. I am unique. And that is why I am great. I'm not like anyone else on this planet. I am grateful for who I am becoming. I am grateful for who I am. I am committed to be myself and speak my truth at all times. And I know that is the only time the right people will show up in my life. Those who are meant for me will love and support and be real with the real me. I'm done with fake people. And that includes a fake version of me. I will stand tall and stand strong in my purpose, in everything that matters to me. I'm different. That is why I win. I am different. That is why I win. I am unique, and that is why I am great. I'm not like anyone else on this planet. I am grateful for who I am becoming. I am grateful for who I am. I am committed to be myself and speak my truth at all times. And I know that is the only time the right people will show up in my life. Those who are meant for me will love and support and be real with the real me. I'm done with fake people, and that includes a fake version of me. I will stand tall and stand strong in my purpose, in everything that matters to me. I'm different. That is why I win. I am me. That is why I win. I am different. Different with pride. If you're different, be different. Be different with pride.
So I just invite you this week to be yourself. To start off the year by being your authentic, true self. And do you. Not what others think you should do, but be you. And so it is. You know? Take my burgundy, my clumsy. So you want to do that declaration now? Huh?
Yes.
I think I can do that.
So we have our community declaration.
It's a kind of. Oh, that's. All right. We've gone down that road before.
We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. We are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And finally, we are an expanding and loving community working in a field of infinite potential. And so it is.
Yep. January.
So the words are fairly simple. I rise to the greatness of life within me. I rise to the greatness of all I can be. I rise to the greatness of beauty I see. I rise to the greatness. I rise, I rise, I rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. I rise, I rise, I rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. I rise. And then we'll go to you, and we'll go to we, and we'll come back to I.
You got a new string?
I did not get a new string yet.
Oh, no.
But I think you. I rise to the greatness of life within me. I rise to the greatness of all I can be. I rise to the greatness of beauty I see. I rise to the greatness. I rise, I rise, I rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. I rise, I rise, I rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. I rise. You rise to the greatness of life within you. You rise to the greatness of all you can do. You rise to the greatness of beauty you see. You rise to the greatness. You rise, you rise, you rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. You rise, you rise, you rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. You rise. We rise to the greatness of life within us. We rise to the greatness of all we profess. We rise to the greatness of beauty we see. We rise to the greatness. We rise, we rise, we rise.
Magnify, magnify, magnify. We rise, we rise, we rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. We rise. I rise to the greatness of life within me. I rise to the greatness of all I can be. I rise to the greatness of beauty I see. I rise to the greatness. I rise, I rise, I rise. Magnify, magnify, magnify. I rise, I rise, I rise. Glorify, glorify, glorify. I rise.
Oh, we can rise.
So I wanted to have us start with that song for several reasons. One, just the refrain, I'll rise up. We can get knocked down. I don't know how many people would say the global pandemic was a knockdown. Probably say, give that a thumbs up. It was probably a knockdown. And individually, we have things that can happen to us. In the video version of the song, it depicts the story of a couple, and the man is essentially paralyzed, and his wife, you see her getting him ready for their day. But it's an unusual day because it's a day where they're going out for a date. And as the song is going on, she thanks him for taking her out, even though she was the one who, to all appearances, was doing all the work. And sometimes it can feel like that. Sometimes it can feel like, I know in our relationship, Michael does so much of the work. Michael does so much of the things that make things happen. And in that process of rising up, there is this sequence of events that happen where sometimes we are the people giving and sometimes we are the people receiving. This year, the Centers for Spiritual Living has a global theme of a grand rising. And when I first heard about it, I was a little like, what's that? And then when I did the research about it, researching for the talk, the notion of a grand rising comes from an expression that's been popularized and practiced within the African American community. So rather than starting each day with good morning, a grand rising sets a different tone. And the people that decided on the grand rising as the theme had heard a story about 3 homeless youth who came into a shelter, and once they got to the shelter, they then had to navigate how to negotiate all of the elements that would get them the services that they needed, because they were homeless. They had been put out of their homes. And the 3 of them had come upon the expression grand rising on a TikTok video. And they embraced it because they really felt when people said good morning, the word morning has a homonym. So there's the M-O-R-N-I-N-G, which is morning time of day. And there's morning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, which is that process of grieving. And the 3 of them realized that so much about their lives were worthy of grieving. They didn't have the kind of childhood, they didn't have the kind of young adulthood that is kind of set as a standard or kind of set as an expectation for how young people should be brought forward into the world. So they made a big poster in their room that said, a grand rising, because they wanted to acknowledge more than morning. And sometimes we can get stuck in our mourning. Sometimes we can get stuck in our grieving. Now, I'm not dismissing or discounting the power and the beauty and the importance of either mourning, M-O-R-N-I-N-G, that first brightening of the day, nor am I dismissing the idea of mourning, that grieving, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. I'm trying to join with what the centers are inviting us to entertain, a grand rising. So we're having a grand rising from the pandemic. Things are returning to a little bit more normal. And yet, hopefully, in that return, there are some changes that have been made. It would be pretty hard to forget that at the onset of the pandemic was also an uplifting in the Black Lives Matter movement. There were a series of essentially cops killing black people. And it wasn't different. This has been going on throughout our history, as I identify it in our acknowledgments. The process of killing black people and brown people and people of color has been